We are coming to you live from the Town Fair Tire Studios, powered by Town Fair Tire. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. You know, Sal, you've had a baby more recently, but since we've last worked together, you've gotten married.
Yes.
All of that good stuff.
A lot. So. Well, is it good? No, a lot has happened. Just kidding, honey. I love you.
Good.
I love you. No, yeah, no, it's been great. Yeah, we got married maybe 2017, and then you had the baby 4 months ago. So
nice.
I know. Can you imagine? Remember me, the idiot, dopey producer who you used to know and work with, and we actually hung out. Remember, we went to the Super Bowl with Mike a couple times.
Yes, with Mike with the dinners. The Super Bowl dinners were legendary.
Yeah, and so I can't even believe that I'm now a father. But yes, I am.
Great.
Who would have ever thought? Huh?
No, I love it absolutely, and I've now worked with at least 50 different partners in the past. I'm not even sure, maybe 15 years here at the Fan. So I'm happy to add to that growing total. And we do have enough certainly to talk about today, even just baseball.
Sure.
And candidly, I didn't make it through
the
entire Mets game. I stayed up as long as I could. I did think it was hopeless.
How far did you go?
I didn't go nearly until the Fan ran onto the field and put himself on the mound. That I've never seen before.
Heard about it, didn't see it.
Exactly. Heard about it, didn't see it, same. I think I only lasted about right around a halfway point.
Okay.
I tried to get through 5.
I went through 4, and then I was like, look, I gotta get to sleep. I can't watch this garbage. If you stayed up watching that entire game last night, you have issues. Figure out what happened last night when you read about it the next day or watch the highlights. I'm still one of those people who like to read the paper, but the Mets are so dreadful. You think maybe it'd be different if DeGrom were pitching or the Mets were legitimately in a pennant race, but come on. I mean, it's tough to stay up. It's a late night game, and you know they're going to get squashed by the Giants, which eventually they did.
It just kind of feels like we've seen this show before. It's like I watch a lot of like real crime,
right?
And I watch like Snapped on channel 251 on DirecTV.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah, it's like essentially someone snaps and basically commits a murder.
Oh, wow!
And it's usually pretty apparent who it is, but I like the show. Mm-hmm. I feel, but it's predictable. Like you know you're going to have that conclusion at the end where likely the spouse did it.
Right.
Like more likely than not, the spouse did it. I feel like that's the Mets season post Jacob deGrom. Because unfortunately, you know, I don't think we're going to see him the rest of the year. I do think there's some sort of a bit of a mystery in terms of what is actually wrong and all of those ailments adding up to now his being sidelined since before the All-Star break. Since he gave us half a season essentially, and it was a great half of a season. But that it seems to be is going to be it. And I feel like the Mets season has spiraled, and I feel like it's been incredibly predictable, not in a great way.
You could see it coming, no question, for weeks. Now, there was a point where I thought the Mets would take off and run away with the division because I assumed this was before DeGrom got hurt. This was before the trade deadline, before Lindor went down. I assume Lindor is going to average out a little bit and get better. Conforto will get a little bit better. Okay, maybe the pitching comes back down to life, or comes back down to reality, but the rest of the areas will pick it up, and they'll add at the deadline. Well, none of that happened. DeGrom went out. Lindor went out. Conforto hasn't been any good. They added, but not enough, nearly enough at the trade deadline, and everybody else got better. And the fact that the Mets let the Braves and the Phillies hang around, you know what happens when you let somebody hang around. It could happen in a football game or in the course of a baseball season. If you let them hang around enough, they're going to catch you. And now they're done. Forget it. The Braves squashed the Marlins last night, 12-2 or something like that. The Braves are about to take off, and the Mets are going to be left for dead in the NL.
Yeah, they've been taken off. They're scoring like crazy.
Because look what they did at the deadline.
Absolutely.
They revamped their outfield. And then the Mets last night, the only good thing you could say about their pitcher last night was that he's not Jared Eichhoff. And from now on, I think I'm going to refer to Rich Hill as not Jared Eichhoff. That's what the Mets did. Rich Hill and Javi Baez, who's not there. Meanwhile, you see Chris Bryant, who the Mets should have gotten.
I wondered about that.
Yeah.
I wondered about the Chris Bryant pursuit by the Mets. Was there one? If there was, I missed it.
How legitimate was it?
Right.
Yeah, because they wanted to make Lindor happy and keep team chemistry alive, which I like. And maybe you could speak to it more being in clubhouses and locker rooms, throughout your career, obviously. So I do believe in chemistry, but to what extent? And they didn't go out there and potentially get the better player in Chris Bryant, yet he homers, last night, killing him twice. So, I mean, it's just one thing after. The Mets they're done. It's over. That's it. They're done.
And that's the shame of it is they were a group that was so easy to root for. When the Pilars and VRs and Guillorme and some other names that I'm missing, including the outfielder Williams, the outfielder formerly of the Yankees, filled in and made a couple great catches.
Mason
for
Williams,
him. Mason Williams, thank you very much. Made a couple great catches in center field. They were really fun, and it was easy to root for him. And you said, well, wait till everyone's healthy again. First of all, they've not been healthy again. They lost their best player and the best pitcher, obviously, in baseball. And it has a very it feels like a funeral watching that team now. I like to listen to Rojas and Boone after games. Rojas's answers are the same all the time now. What else is he going to say?
Yeah, and
there's no magic formula to get these guys out of a funk. And for some of them, it's been a season-long funk, which makes absolutely no sense.
Pete Alonso did have, a big 2-run triple tying the game. And it's not his, look, this season's not on Pete Alonso, but he's been saying a lot of stuff like, oh, you'll find, don't believe Met fans, no, and we're going to see what we're made of in this stretch. Well, now they're 0-4 so far. They've played 4 games. They've lost all 4 against the Dodgers and the Giants. So we are finding out what the Mets are made of.
Yes.
And by the way, everybody plays the same teams. Maybe they don't have to play them the same time the way the Mets do 13 straight. But still, Kim, this team they miss opportunities to take advantage of a weak National League East, and they didn't do it. And now they're here looking up in the standings.
Yeah, about that. It bothered me in the first half when they were content with taking, splitting the doubleheader.
Right.
Against the Yankees. They had a chance to bury the Yankees that day.
Agreed.
By winning that last game of that series. They were like, we took the first 2. We're good. And it had that feel to it then. And now you look back and they have to have regret. Maybe they don't consciously have regret because baseball players, athletes are different than us. They don't sit around and think like we do about this stuff because they can't dwell on it.
They just sit around and count their money.
We can dwell on it.
They count their millies.
Well, some of them might.
I probably would too. You think I'd care what any idiot on radio said about me if I had $50 million in the bank?
But in fairness, a lot of them are very good at turning the page, whereas we as fans and as talk show hosts don't turn the page because we dwell.
Right.
They can't be like that. And the ones who are ultimately drive themselves crazy and or aren't successful. So they can't be like that. But I just felt like that, almost like killer instinct, if you will, was missing a little bit from the Mets even in the first half when they were healthier and when DeGrom was pitching. And now they just look like dead team walking.
I think it's a great point, and I think it's something, even when I was watching this team, and even when I said, foolishly so, started to buy in, saying that they're going to run away with this division, mainly because the other team stunk, and like I said, I thought more would happen at the deadline in the second half with some of these performers, but there was always something missing with this team, even though they were a first-place team. They never played like a real first-place team, and I think some of their problem, Kim, is that they believed they're better than what they were. Maybe to your point about the splitting the doubleheaders, well, they think, well, we just did a great job. We won a game here. We're up against it. We've had so many games and so few time. We've been hit hard by injury. Whatever the excuse you want to throw out there. Dom Smith was saying, oh, the games don't matter now. Wait till later in the year. Or anytime they lose and fans and media would question them, hey, you guys lost this tough game. Oh, we're still in first place. We're still a first-place team. Well, there's no real foundation in that. You have to play like a first-place team. You have to really be a good team. They thought they're better than they are, and now they've gotten caught, and they don't know what to do with themselves because they're realizing, you know what, maybe we weren't that good, in fact. And that's now been proven where they're sitting right now in the National League. Injuries or not, other teams deal with it too. Mets are nowhere near the top teams in the National League.
Meanwhile, the Yankees, at least based on my math, which is always subject to being double-checked, triple-checked, and proven wrong by someone else, I think they're 15-5 over their last 20. They have gone on a tear. They look good doing it. Giancarlo found his way to the outfield against the Marlins. That is a bit of a success for those of us who've talked about that being a ridiculous situation as it was for most. The great majority of this Yankee season, that's not an issue really anymore because they're winning. When you win, little, quote unquote, little things don't matter nearly as much. And you look at this Yankees team, they're going to get better. That Cole back last night, and they're going to add other pieces, including Rizzo, who looked like a terrific signing, dealt with COVID, is on his way back. And the only question there is, what does that mean for Luke Voit? I'm not sure Yankees folks are losing sleep over that, by the way.
Well, the fact that Stanton could play the outfield now adds some versatility to that lineup, right? Let's say, and they didn't do this.
He?
Well, exactly.
Right.
I mean, let's just say he stays healthy enough. You could envision a scenario if the Yankees get in the postseason and they want to go offense heavy. They go Stanton and left, Judge in center, Gallo, or whatever you however you want to mix it. Stanton and right, Gallo and left, Judge in center. So that helps. Then you could have Voit be the DH. And I'll tell you, I said this yesterday with Moose. I am now convinced, as somebody who's doubted the Yankees all year and was just saying it's not their year. I mean, how many things do we need to see? These gut punches of losses that continually happen that never happened to the Yankees before. All the players they've lost to injury, the COVID IL, one thing after another. It's just not their year. But then they go out there and make that trade or those trades for Rizzo and Gallo. Now they're starting to play some better baseball. And even while they still have had some tough losses, you just sense that it's a little different. And wouldn't it be ironic that the one year where everybody's like, fire Cashman, fire Boone, this team's dead.
They have a resurgence.
Yeah, and they'll somehow, in Yankee fashion, get into the postseason and go on a run. And at this point, I'm expecting that to be the case.
The Yankees will always be able to rescue themselves if they choose to. That's the one thing about that organization, because it's in their DNA. They're going to get the okay from ownership for a lot of things. Not for everything, maybe. And maybe Hal is a little bit different in that respect, but for an awful lot. And this time around, they actually made as you just noted, two really smart acquisitions that really helped them. And other teams could have swooped in with those acquisitions. You know, the Mets didn't help themselves. They really did not help themselves at the deadline very much. They have a right fielder in Conforto whose game is just never coming around. He's having an awful contract year, as we all see every time, almost every time he takes the field. And I understand he's had a few moments, but certainly not what he and Scott Boras envisioned in terms of his contract year and how that's playing out. And the Mets' clutch factor seemed to have left the station, right around the All-Star break. Those series against Pittsburgh were very concerning to me, both on the way into the break and out of the break. And now the baseball schedule makers, and I understand they got to play them, but gave them no favors with the Dodgers and Giants in a back-to-back-to-back fashion that's going to end up burying them.
You're right about the point about Pittsburgh, and I think a lot of Met fans and people are looking at, this stretch, this gauntlet with the Giants and Dodgers as if that's going to bury them. No, they were already beaten when they didn't take advantage of Pittsburgh, when they lost 3 or 4 to Miami, when they got swept by the Phillies, when they kept splitting series with the Phillies and the Braves. That's where they lost this, not against the Giants and Dodgers. On the Yankees, Kim, a couple of things from last night that I thought you mentioned Garrett Cole coming back, and it was good to see him. Mm-hmm. I love the way that they used the bullpen last night, where Boone specifically used Britton to get one
early.
One lefty out. He did his job. Joely Rodriguez came in to get Ohtani in a big spot. He did his job. Green closed it out. The bullpen maybe could be an issue, but the way they used it last night was I thought, the way that you'd hope to use it. I know it's not going to be the same format every game, but Boone, to me, used it perfectly last night. The one issue you would have, and again, I know Cole, maybe his bugaboo is giving up home runs in the postseason. You get down early, maybe that could hurt you a little bit. Did it again last night. Gallo good with the homer. But the Yankees had a chance to expand on their lead. And what was it, the 6th inning or something like that? Bases loaded again, nobody out. And you had Stanton strike out and Voit hit into a double play.
And that was a Stanton strikeout we've seen so many times. Lunging, off balance, and just, trudges back to the dugout. I don't expect him to break his bat, by the way, but just walks back to the dugout.
And we've seen it, you're right, a million times. Now, they won the game, which is great.
Yes.
Again, they're hot. They gain a game on Oakland in the wild card standings. But those are things, when you look at, that is what is infuriating about this Yankee team. How can you not score one single run with the bases loaded and nobody out for Stanton and Voit? And it's almost predictable. You talk about the Mets being, that's almost predictable. Stan's up, guess what he's going to do with the base loaded? Strike out, and guess what Voigt's going to do in this spot? Double play. So there are still things, even in the win, that you look at and say, well, this could be concerning maybe moving forward. But I'll tell you, Kim, this is a huge 3-game series with the Red Sox. Double dip today, the split doubleheader.
Sure. Yeah.
This has been the one, the Yankees have beaten the White Sox. They've beaten the Astros. They've even kind of leveled the playing field with Tampa a little bit as far as head-to-head goes this year, where it was so dominated. Yeah, it was so dominated last year.
Tampa scored so many more runs than the Yankees. We think of them as the little engine that analytics could. They wall up the baseball. They have scored so many more runs than the Yankees. It's like
incredible.
It's incredible to think of that team being a run-scoring powerhouse.
Agreed. Similar to maybe the Giants that we saw last night, where both teams, quote unquote, hunting the fastball. Which, by the way, who doesn't hunt the fastball? I mean, my whole life in baseball since a little leaguer, you're supposed to hit the fastball.
Where is this coming from?
Well, that's what they were saying last night on the Mets broadcast.
About hunting the fastball?
Well, the Giants specifically, and they were showing the analytics. Oh. And I think the Rays were up there in one of those teams, to your point. Oh, well, these teams hunt the fastball. Yeah. Okay. But still, it's a comment. Hunt the fastball.
Whoa. What about Rojas saying that his guys weren't ready for the fastball game after game after game? How is that possible?
Who? You're in the major leagues. You can't hit a fastball. It used to be.
I don't understand that at all.
It used to be anybody in the majors could hit the fastball. The difference between minor leaguers and major leaguers is can you hit the breaking ball? Now it's they're hunting the fastball. Anyway, the point is you're right about the Rays and the Giants offense. But against the Red Sox, they've owned the Yankees this year. Can the Yankees now finally get over that hump with this team head-to-head? We'll find out.
We will indeed. Didn't the Yankees even that up a little bit, though, most recently, didn't they?
What, the Sox? No, they played well at Fenway, but they lost 3 of 4 was the last time that they met. Remember, they blew one of those games in another gut punch, excruciating fashion.
With the reliever.
Yeah, Loaizaga was one who imploded.
Yes.
He was one who imploded.
Right.
But they had a chance. That was coming out of the All-Star break, where they beat Tampa, I'm pretty sure, following that 2 out of 3. But they lost that 3 out of 4 to Boston, and it was just like, enough's enough. And that was before the trade deadline. Anyway, the Yankees, and they're chasing Boston, obviously.
Sure,
so this is going to be we talk about the Yankees' resurgence and being able to trust the Yankees again. Well, we're going to find out. These are huge. Yep. No excuses. Go out there and beat the Red Sox in these 3 games.
Split doubleheader today, 1:05, which is why you and I are off the air at 12:25 today.
Half day for us.
Yeah, it is a half day.
Same
Leading into John and Susan, of course, with pregame and then that game, and then the second game at 7:05.
Yes, the split double dip later on.
And then tomorrow night, tomorrow a single game at 7:05. So a 3-game set. You're right. Really important. As the games within the division start to dwindle, I think the Yankees only see the Rays one more series as we sit here on, what is it, August 17th?
Right.
They only see the Rays for one more series.
I think it's the final series of the year.
I believe it's toward the end of September.
Right.
Absolutely.
Maybe the last week
Absolutely.
for sure.